What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Dominic Rich, and I have two guests with me, Ben Steiner and Football Pharoah. In today's video, we will be talking about round two of the 2022 CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers, where 6 teams are going to vie for the 3 last remaining spots for the octagonal that already has Jamaica, Costa Rica, Honduras, Mexico, and the USA. How are you feeling, guys? Ben, introduce yourselves, and then Football Pharaoh, you do the same.
I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for having me on the channel again. I know we spoke a little bit about the CONCACAF qualifying games before Canada faced Suriname. But I'm Ben Steiner. I'm from Canada. I'm a football writer for Waking the Red, the Toronto FC and Canada Soccer sort of wing of SB Nation. And I'm more than happy to come on and talk about Canadian soccer and all of CONCACAF.
Nice. Football Pharaoh.
I'm Football Pharoah. I'm from the US. I have my channel, Football Pharoah, where I discuss club and international soccer. I'm really happy to be on. So thanks for doing yet another collab with my friend Dominic Rich, and happy to make acquaintance with Mr. Steiner as well.
Nice. Always nice to have you, man. Very knowledgeable, and it's nice to have Ben on once again. Recent collabs have gotten really, really good reception. So, in today's video, guys, we will be talking about round two of CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers. But before we do that, we have to recap round one. So I know you guys are excited about this. I know Ben, he is very excited after Canada's triumph over Suriname. And I know Football Pharaoh is just altogether just he's like a kid in a candy store when it comes to CONCACAF football and just international football in general. And I'm pretty much the same. That's why I had to bring them together. And maybe if we had add another person, we could, be like the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and do something real wicked. But as of now, we are three, and it's fun. It gets lonely doing this by yourself, but so it's nice to have you guys. So North Central America and the Caribbean makes up CONCACAF, where there will be 34 participating teams. There's a few teams from CONCACAF like French Guiana, Guadeloupe, Martinique that will not be taking place. You could even throw Bonaire in there. A few teams not taking part in World Cup qualifiers. So we're gonna just recap round one, where there were 29 teams, if I can recall, that took part. I might be wrong. I think it's 29 teams or so took part. Yeah, 29 teams took part in World Cup qualifiers. St. Lucia did drop out, but the teams that were not inside the octagonal took part. And just to do a quick recap, Group A, and then you guys are going to share your thoughts on each group as I go along. So El Salvador tops the group, 10 points, with Montserrat second, 8 points. Antigua third, 7 points. Grenada fourth with 3 points. And the US, Virgin Islands without a point. The penultimate game in the group between El Salvador and Antigua and Barbuda finished in a 3-0 win for El Salvador. They needed to get a good result because Montserrat, with a big win over Grenada, could have also gone through, but they picked up a 2-1 win. Very impressive, nevertheless. Ben, first you. Let me hear your thoughts on Group A, and then Football Pharaoh, and then we move on to Group B.
Well, if you're looking at this group before CONCACAF World Cup qualifying got started, I think you're probably picking El Salvador to get out of this group. Now, Montserrat did a fantastic job to come within 2 points, and they got that final result, a 2-1 win over Grenada on the final day. But El Salvador, when it came time and they had to win, they did exactly that, and they got the result they needed, and they were coming out of the group sort of as expected. Now, heading into the next stage of matches, it's a bit of a toss-up whether they're going to advance. I know we're going to get into that a little bit later, but this El Salvadoran team isn't El Salvadoran teams in the past. They're not insanely strong. Sure, they have Eric Zavaleta come from Toronto FC and score in their match against Antigua, but they're definitely not the strong team that El Salvador has been in the past, and I don't really see them necessarily making the octagonal, let alone advancing from the octagonal. But I think they were expected to top this group, and they did exactly that.
Football Pharaoh.
Yeah, this group proved to be relatively competitive, especially amongst the island nations here. I'd love to see Montserrat continuing on their extraordinary success from the last the Nations League, where they came just behind El Salvador as well, and they made a really convincing case for making it to the Gold Cup, coming up just short. So it's good to see them building upon that and coming up with a very strong performance in this group and coming in behind El Salvador yet again. And going into that final match day against Grenada, they needed to win by a hefty margin and hoped that El Salvador and Antigua drew each other, but it wasn't meant to be. In El Salvador, those final 2 match days, when they came in with those wins against the U.S. Virgin Islands at Antigua, they did exactly what they had to do to come through. And in addition to a player like Zabaleta that Ben mentioned, they have guys like Tony Rugamas, Juan Carlos Portillo-Leal, who I think should make El Salvador an interesting side to watch in the next round and the octagonal if they were to come through. But I'm not quite too keen on their prospects ultimately on making a big impact in the latter rounds. And a little bit of a disappointing finish. A little bit of a disappointing finish for Grenada. I expected a little bit better from them after them doing so well in the last Nations League, getting promoted to League A. But they finished, I believe, fourth, with only 3 points from 4 games. Overall, not a surprise. I think we expected El Salvador to come out of this, and they did.
Well said. I did expect El Salvador to come to this group, and I got what I expected from Montserrat, for them to perform very, very well. I was actually doing some research, and I think maybe 3 cycles ago, Montserrat were getting blasted out. I think they got 10-0 or something. I think it was 18-0 or something from Haiti. I can't remember the exact scoreline, but if you guys are interested, just look up Montserrat's previous World Cup qualifying campaigns, and you would see how much this team has improved. I'm disappointed. The team I'm really disappointed in is the U.S. Virgin Islands for not scoring a single goal. Okay? Just to lighten the mood a bit. I'm disappointed in them for not at least scoring once. I think it wasn't one of this team. There was someone from my village in St. Vincent and the Grenadines that represented one of these small minnows. I think it's either Anguilla or one of the Virgin Islands team. But nevertheless, congrats to El Salvador on moving on to the second round. Very impressive stuff without a loss in this group, and very defensively astute and everything. So we have a lot more we could talk about on this group, but we won't. We'll move on to Group B. So in Group B, Ben's group, Canada topped the group with 12 points. Suriname came in second with 9 points. Bermuda third with 4 points. Aruba fourth with 3. And the Cayman Islands with 1 point. On the last match day, we had Canada defeating Suriname 4-0, and Bermuda drawing 1-1 to the Cayman Islands. I should say Cayman Islands got a point off Bermuda, because we know Bermuda are the better team, but very good on Cayman Islands. Two vacation spots coming up against each other. Ben, what are your thoughts here?
Well, Canada did exactly what they had to do, right? Canada, with the talent they have, and Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, Stefan Eustáquio, I could go on. They were expected to top this group when the draw happened. But then Suriname came out of nowhere and started getting all these Dutch players holding Dutch passports and being able to play for the Suriname national team. That definitely scared Canada a little. I know any of the viewers that watched our preview video for the final round of this set of games definitely saw that there was a bit of nervousness in the Canadian camp heading into this match with Suriname. Now, Canada did exactly what they had to. Look at that goal differential, plus 26. They blew teams out of the water in this group. And in the end, Suriname was not really a challenge. 4-0. Sure, Suriname had to push some of their players forward in that final game, but eventually the quality of Canada came through, and Canada dominated this group right from the beginning. Now, am I impressed by Suriname? Yeah, I am. I think if they got some of their players before, they could probably have a better goal differential. But in the end, I don't think they were beating Canada with the Canadian talent on that team. So Suriname, they finish about as high as I would sort of expect them to. Bermuda, disappointing not to get a win on the final day of qualifying, to at least make a bit of a case that they could have made a bit of a run of it. Unfortunately, I don't know, maybe they played a bit of a secondary team develop some of their players and maybe capitalize some new players, because that game really did not matter to them instead, unless you're looking at the FIFA rankings. And then Aruba and the Cayman Islands. I mean, what did you expect of these island nations? They're not really expected to vie for World Cup spots, and that's exactly what they did. So 3 points, a win for Aruba. Definitely impressive for them. And the Cayman Islands, they definitely stole a point off Bermuda, but they were definitely nowhere near qualifying for the World Cup.
The vacation spot cup between Bermuda, Aruba, and the Cayman Islands, because that's what it basically is. So, Football Pharaoh, your thoughts on this group, and then I'll give brief thoughts, and then we move on.
Obligatory 4 wins for Canada. Obligatory 12 points. This is exactly what they have to do to prove that they are too good for the likes of the sides in this round. John Herman's team that wants to make a compelling case for World Cup qualification, not just to get through the next round, but to make it to the octagonal and possibly finish in the top 4 and get a direct spot for Qatar 2022. Unsurprising. I mean, the stats speak for themselves. 27 goals scored and 1 conceded, that first goal coming on the first match day against Bermuda. As far as Suriname, I want to see where they go from here. Like Ben alluded to, they have a lot of dual Dutch nationals that came into the squad, so they took these qualifiers very seriously. They're going to be playing in the Gold Cup this summer. We'll see further what they're made of on that type of platform. As far as Bermuda goes, I feel a little bit sorry for them. I think that if they had been drawn into maybe an easier group, they might have had a more navigable path potentially into the second round. But when you drop points against the Cayman Islands, you kind of don't deserve to be going very far in the early stages of this competition. And good for the Caymans for getting a point. And for Aruba, you know, the bottom 2 sides in this group, they were expected to finish where they finished. And it was always, I think, from the very beginning, a race between Canada, Suriname, and to a lesser extent, Bermuda. But Canada, yeah, well done. It's a big statement by putting on such a big domination. Let's see what they do in the next round.
Well said. I was actually waiting for Suriname to do something against Canada because I was on vacation. I went on a little mini vacation, and I was following the game via just the commentary, online commentary. And I'm like, okay, it's 0-0, 0-0, 0-0. Okay, who's going to score first? And then I see Canada score first. And then I was like, okay, because I predicted Canada to go through. And I'm telling you this, if Suriname had went through, maybe it would have been good for us YouTubers, because if we spoke about that, we would have got a lot of views. But that's not what it's all about. Because the build-up with Suriname, not Curacao, with Suriname, it was a lot of hype. The fans were going crazy, and they have all right to. The team going from having just a few professional players just 2 years ago when St. Vincent and the Grenadines defeated them 1-0 in the Nations League, to coming up against Canada thinking that you could go through to the second round and possibly to an octagonal to bump shoulders with the big boys, where who knows, more players would have came out the woodworks. So when you look at Suriname and the quality of teams that they played and defeated, it's hard to actually judge them on that, because Bermuda, Aruba, Cayman Islands, you're expected to beat them with the quality of guys that you called up. But when you come up against Canada and the more quality oppositions, then the exposure begins. And maybe they would need a little bit of sunscreen from all the heat that Canada brought and the exposure, because they got battered 4-0. They were humbled. But what I had to say to the Suriname, I keep saying Curacao, but because it's Curacao was a team that was, coming through, and now it's Suriname. But I have to say they have to keep the team together, keep on building, and they have to look towards the Gold Cup. They can't keep their heads down. They have to brush this off. And as I said, the 2026 World Cup, 3 direct spots, and I think there will be more. I think there might be one other spot. So a lot of spots up for grabs for the 2026 World Cup that will be hosted by Canada, the USA, and Mexico. So stay up, Suriname, and well done by Canada. And we're going to move on to Group C, where we have Curacao topping the group with 10 points. Guatemala also with 10 points, with Goals scored being the difference maker here. Cuba third, 6 points. My island, St. Vincent and the Grenadines with 3 points, and the British Virgin Islands without a point. Ben, your thoughts?
Well, I sort of think this is another group that we sort of saw the standings expected before the end of the match play. And so Curacao advancing, I mean, it's close. You don't have goal differential. You go all the way down to goals for, and just one goal Curacao had up on Guatemala. And Curacao, like Suriname, has taken advantage of the dual nationals. They've taken advantage of having players come over. And what Curacao have is a bit of a younger team than Suriname was able to put together with the dual nationals. So not only is Curacao able to advance through this stage of World Cup qualifying, but they have a bit of a better outlook heading into future World Cup qualifying campaigns, Gold Cup, and other competitions as well. Now, Curacao advances out of this group. I said in the last video, I think Curacao could very well qualify for the World Cup. I think they're going to make the octagonal or the ocho, whatever you want to call it, and they're going to disturb some teams. I think even a team like Mexico and the U.S. could be disturbed by Curaçao's style, which could very well just park the bus.
Wait, you're going a little bit too far there.
I don't think it's too far that Curacao could take a point.
Let's hold that until we talk about Curacao Panama, because you're going because we don't know if
let's say they beat Panama, and I think they will. You get 4 games against the U.S. and Mexico. I think they can take a point off at least one of those games. I see a draw, maybe one draw and 3 losses, but I think that Curacao can dance with some of the best in the region in CONCACAF. I think they're that good.
Much better, much better. You have to throw the if in there, because there'll be a few people from Panama watching this and they'll have different thoughts. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So we can't go too far ahead there. I want you to say if, because
if Curacao
beat
Panama, then I think they can do some damage and make the World Cup.
All right. I don't mean to interrupt you, but Football Pharaoh, your thoughts?
It's good to have confidence in Curacao. They're one of the most exciting teams on the up now in the last few years in the CONCACAF region. And what's really interesting is that I think it was a stoppage time goal, their 8th goal against the British Virgin Islands, that enabled them to only need a draw coming into that final match day against Guatemala. Otherwise, they would have been behind on goal differential and they would have needed to have won the game. And to their relief, they did, since the game ended in a 0-0 draw, that proved to be just enough in the end. As far as the British Virgin Islands, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines, that's just about where we thought they would finish. It was rather sad to see that St. Vincent lost their quote-unquote home game against Cuba on that final match day. I actually thought they could have won that, but and Cuba, they've been going through a lot of issues over the last few years with a lot of players defecting from their national squad, and Guatemala, they just came back from a FIFA suspension that was given to them, I believe, a couple of years ago. They got promoted from the Nations League. So this was a tight one. This was really a race, not necessarily head-to-head, but between Curacao and Guatemala in terms of who could rack up the most goals against the other teams in this group. And with the second tiebreaker being number of goals scored for Curacao, they go through. And I think they're going to be a very menacing side to deal with. And I think the Curacao-Panama fixture in the next round is going to be the closest one. That one's, in my opinion, sort of a toss-up, but I'll save that for when we get there. But for Curacao, I agree with you, Dom. I think they're basically a more advanced Suriname. Curacao, because they have that experience to draw back on, having played in the last 2 major CONCACAF Gold Cups, that experience of playing against better teams. Suriname, they'll get to where they need to be, but now is not the time.
Well said. My thoughts before we move on. I expected Curacao to go through. I didn't think it was going to be this close, but Guatemala, you got to give it to them, coming back hard from that ban. They were in the Nations League bottom league, and they ripped it up. They came here, they ripped it up. Guatemala means business. And I like what I see here, I was looking back, and Guatemala did well. I think it was about 3 World Cup cycles ago when they got to the Hex, and I was like, God damn, I think it was in 2000, and it had to be 2006 or so. Or do you remember? Yeah, Guatemala got to the Hex, so they on the right path. Let's just put it that way. So they just have to stick with the plan here, and maybe next time around they could make it, but they miss out. Cuba, I wasn't expecting much from Cuba, seeing that their squad is always depleted. And St. Vincent and the Grenadines, their squad has been so heavily depleted, and they have been so affected by COVID-19 and the volcanic eruption that happened just about the time when preparations were supposed to be made for the March international break. So you could understand why they got battered 10-0 and everything. And if there's like guys on the team that I know their sisters and all of that, come on, what do you expect? So St. Vincent is just a sad decline, but hopefully the Vinci Heat, I would like to call them the St. Vincent Volcanoes. Hopefully they'll rise again. So British Virgin Islands, we never expected anything from them whatsoever. So we move on to the next group, Group D, where Panama topped the group with 12 points, the DR second with 7, Barbados third with 5, Dominica with 4, and Anguilla at the bottom without a point. On the last match day there, we had Panama defeating Dominican Republic in a crucial match, 3-0, and Barbados and Dominica playing to a 1-1 draw. Ben, your thoughts?
In some elements, Panama came into this group very much like Canada in Group B. 12 points, they were expected to get 12 points against these opponents. They did that, and they're advancing to the next round. And you've already heard me talk about their match against Curacao. I don't think they're winning that, just because I don't think that Panama has the talent compared to Curacao. But they did what they had to do in this group. I didn't watch this group too closely, but I mean, at the bottom of the standings, props to the Dominican Republic for making a bit of a challenge to make that final spot. And then Barbados, Dominica, and Anguilla. What do you sort of expect from these small nations?
Well said. Football Pharaoh.
Panama kind of teased us with flopping early on. They made hard work of their games against Barbados and Dominica. They only recorded, I think, a 1-0 victory over Barbados. That goal came late on in the 82nd minute. They conceded an equalizer to Dominica well past the 80th mark in that second game, and they needed to score a few moments later to take the full 6 points. And halfway through this group, after March's match days ended, it looked like the Dominican Republic were in with a decent shout of potentially providing an upset. But then they went ahead and they dropped points against Barbados, and then Panama put an absolute beat down on Anguilla, and from then on, it was always an uphill battle for the DR. But and then Panama closed out the group. They got their act together and topped it with max points, as they should have. The DR are another team, I think. I'm looking forward to see what they do in future competitions. This will be something also for them to hang their hat on and see where they can go from here. Anguilla, I'll say this about Anguilla. I don't know if you guys saw their kits that they released back in March. So there was some really sick design on their kits. One of the best in the CONCACAF region. Beautiful orange and blue colors. It's going to be a tough one between Panama and Curacao in the next round. And Panama really has to put their best foot forward. They cannot afford to make light thinking of Curacao, because they will be punished for it if they do.
Well said, guys. I expected Panama to come through. The DR really surprised me, where a win against Panama in the final match, they would have done it. Never expected anything from Barbados, Dominica, and Anguilla. Vacation spots. Never expected anything at all from them. So props to DR. They should try to build on what they have, and it's so sad that they kind of lose some of their best players in Junior Firpo and Mariano Diaz, who I don't know if he's playing. I think he plays for the. Didn't he play for the DR recent? I'm not. I haven't been keeping track of him, but the Real Madrid player Mariano Diaz, he is from the Dominican Republic.
Right.
So if they develop these players, they have to try to. It's hard. It's very difficult because I don't think football is the number one sport in the Dominican Republic. So it's going to be difficult for them. But Panama, they got their work cut out for them in the next round for sure. And we're going to move on to the next group, Group E, where we have Haiti with 9 points, topping the group, Nicaragua with 6, Belize with 3, Turks and Caicos without a point, and the other team that was in this group, St. Lucia, the country where my wife was born, they dropped out. So on the final match day, Haiti versus Nicaragua, whoever won this game would have gone through. Haiti did it 1-0. Ben, what are your thoughts? Haiti will be the team that Canada are meeting in the next round, so curious to hear what you got to say. But look, do me a favor and save a lot of it for when we do get to Haiti versus Canada.
Well, Haiti was sort of expected to come out of this group as well. They were the team that I picked to come out of this group before it all got started, and they did exactly that. A lot of this first stage was quite expected. Haiti, although they got the job done against Nicaragua on that final day, and it wasn't easy for them. They got it 1-0 on the final day to push themselves through, and that wasn't necessarily the result that they needed, and it wasn't a confidence booster for this Haitian side. Nicaragua, good on them for making a run of it. It very well could have come down to that final day, which it did. But then this group was basically a story of two divisions. There was Haiti and Nicaragua fighting for the spot in the next round, and then St. Lucia, Belize, and Turks and Caicos. And Belize and Turks and Caicos, they did okay. Belize picks up 3 points. Turks and Caicos, none, -22 goal differential. Canada was in talks of potentially buying Turks and Caicos a number of years ago to sort of have a bit of a destination spot for mainland Canadians. So maybe they'd be in a bit of a better position if Canada had bought in that area. But that didn't happen. And Turks and Caicos this year out of the World Cup qualifying.
Football, Pharoah.
Well, in a sort of a similar situation to Curacao and Guatemala in Group C, Haiti came into this game against Nicaragua only needing a draw because of the fact that a few days prior they put such a beat down on the Turks and Caicos. Coincidentally, they also needed to win by an 8-goal margin, and they won by 10-0, I believe. I saw highlights of the game between Haiti and Nicaragua. It was an unconvincing performance all around on a very wet pitch due to a thunderstorm. But it feels almost like Groundhog Day. We go through these groups, and every team, with the exception of the one in Group F, which we'll get to, came through. The top-seeded sides came through quite predictably. It was always going to be between Haiti and Nicaragua. They have a little bit of history with each other, too, because I remember they played each other in the last Gold Cup in 2019. Nicaragua also beat Haiti and eliminated them from 2017 Gold Cup qualification. So these two teams just can't seem to avoid each other. They had numerous clashes with each other in the years. But at the end, the better team went through, and I think Haiti has a better chance of giving Canada a fight than Nicaragua ever would have. And for Belize and Turks and Caicos, they're just making up the numbers.
Golden nugget alert. I wish I had like a little button to press whenever someone drops a golden nugget, and there will be a nice golden nugget that floats across the screen. Very good stuff. That's why 3 minds are better than 1. 3 of us are going to do a much better job than me by myself. I expected Haiti to come through here. I think Nicaragua has some potential, but they just seem to come up too short. And as I like to say, the shortcomings outweigh what they have actually going for them. Belize and Turks and Caicos never expected anything from these teams at all. And, shout outs to the Belize national team who got held up in Haiti on their trip there. You must be suffering some PTSD right about now. So, yeah, I guess it's a tactic by the Haitian gangsters to propel Haiti through to the next round and beyond. So Canada has to watch themselves there, watch the Haitian gangsters, So we're going to move on to the next round. Not the next round. We have one more group. This group, big talking points from this group, where St. Kitts topped the group on 9 points. Trinidad and Tobago second on 8 points. However, went undefeated through the group. Puerto Rico with 7 points in third. Guyana, disappointingly, in fourth with 3 points. and the Bahamas at the bottom with 1 point. For the last match day, Trinidad and Tobago, like they should, defeated the Sugar Boys of St. Kitts and Nevis 2-0. And this result shocked me a bit when Puerto Rico defeated Guyana 2-0. Guyana have seemingly regressed since their appearance at the 2019 Gold Cup. Ben, what are your thoughts?
Well, this is the only group that was surprising, right? Trinidad and Tobago were supposed to advance from this group, and they completely tripped up. Sure, they got the win on the final day to bring them within a point, but St. Kitts is advancing to the next round. And St. Kitts, I can't see them advancing any further past this next round. I know that might frustrate some, but St. Kitts was not supposed to make it out of this group. They did so, fantastic for them, but this is more on Trinidad tripping up than St. Kitts necessarily playing well and getting through. And you can see that on the final day when Trinidad did what they had to in what should have been the decisive game to make it out of this group. The rest of the group, I'm impressed by Puerto Rico. You're not really expected to come out and compete for a World Cup spot being Puerto Rico, but a very good job to beat Guyana and make your presence felt in this group. But in the end, Trinidad trips up, St. Kitts advance, and well on them to doing that.
Football, Pharoah.
Well, Dom, when you and I were talking about these groups, you and I were in agreement that this was the one that could potentially yield a big upset to come through. And lo and behold, it did. Now, prior to any ball being kicked off, I thought it was going to be Guyana. Turns out it was St. Kitts and Nevis. And that is a fantastic achievement. They did what they needed to do and had a little bit of luck go their way. But you can hardly begrudge them from that. They were undefeated heading into that final match day with 3 wins. They took care of business when Trinidad could not, dropping points to Puerto Rico and incredibly being unable to beat or even score a goal on Bahamas in the penultimate match day. I mean, my goodness, 201st ranked in the world, Bahamas. I couldn't believe it. I was checking the score in real time and all the updates, and to be out this early, but not only this early in the first round, but before the last match day even takes place, to have a chance to scrape through, it's devastating for TNT football. And they have a lot of rebuilding to go here. I think their issues are systemic. They go across the whole federation, not just the manager, Terry Fenwick. But well done to St. Kitts. Disappointing for Guyana. I thought the Golden Jaguars would do a little bit better than this. And honestly, congrats to Puerto Rico. They only lost 1 game in this group and picked up 7 points. And that included an away victory to Guyana. And for the Bahamas, they're still a minnow in the region, but they'll come away with this with a lot of belief that maybe they can do something special in the future. So, again, congrats to St. Kitts.
Lovely. I am utterly disappointed in TNT. They should have done better. I think that's the only prediction I got wrong.
Shocking.
From the teams I pick coming through. It is like I cannot comprehend how no disrespect to Puerto Rico, no disrespect to the Bahamas. I expected Guyana to actually do a lot better against TNT, and Guyana was one of the teams that they actually beat. But to pick up a draw against Puerto Rico and the Bahamas, that was shocking. Listen, we have to deal with the circumstances. There's COVID-19. It was cut down to the competition changed. It changed totally. And I think the fact that the competition changed, it gave a lot of teams a lot of hope. If they stuck to the original format, these teams would have had no hope to get in the top 6 on World Cup, on FIFA rankings. So this actually gave them a whole lot of hope, and they should feel very, very good. I think before there was one team that had a chance to get into the hex, right? It was top 5. Wasn't it top 5? And then there was a playoffs against the team that were in 6th position. Yeah, I think that's what it was. The original format. Yeah. So top 5 stays in the hex, and the 6th team goes up against the team that comes out from the mini competition, a grueling mini competition, and then the 6th team would play against that team, and then whoever wins would go into the hex. So this gives a lot of teams a doorway into the octagonal, which I love the octagonal, by the way. A lot of games. It will be 14 games each team, and we have a lot of content to cover. And Ben, I think the octagonal does start in September. The last time I checked, football
Yeah, the
Pharaoh.
Yeah,
octagonal starts in September.
correct.
I had that a little mistaken on the
Yeah,
last video,
yeah,
but I still do. I know on that last video we were talking about potentially second teams going to the Gold Cup, and I
yeah,
still see that happening because you have such a packed international schedule right now with not only the Nations League semifinals and finals that went on, but also the World Cup qualifying, and then you do want to give these guys a little bit of rest, especially the ones that are based in Europe. So that's why I sort of said that we might get some secondary teams at the Gold Cup, but World Cup qualifying doesn't resume in the octagonal until September.
yeah. But I don't think there will be any rest. I don't think there will be any respite for these players because the Gold Cup is a serious tournament, and I think teams are going to put out their best squads. If you don't put out your best squads, it would be to your own detriment, and that's a message to Mexico because I think Honduras and Costa Rica are serious. Jamaica are trying their best, but there's been problems in the federation. But with that being said, guys, we won't go on too long because we could talk a lot about CONCACAF. We have to touch on the next round. This is what everyone has been waiting for. Round two. Round two, where we know the group, we know the teams that are going to come up against each other. So we have him here. The teams that made it through are Canada, Curacao, El Salvador, Panama, and St. Kitts and Nevis. And we would have Canada coming up against Haiti, Curacao against Panama, and El Salvador against St. Kitts and Nevis. These would be two-legged affairs. And I had meant to say before when we was in the last group there, Trinidad's group, guys, if those were two-legged affairs, maybe Trinidad would have bounced back and they would have got through. But we have to deal with whatever circumstances we face, and it was one-legged affair. That was the format, and they failed. So the games would start on the 12th of June. That's this Saturday, guys.
Yep.
This Saturday.
It's a quick turnaround for these teams.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And that's why we're here now on a Thursday night. We haven't even eaten our dinners. We haven't, say hello to our lady friends or nothing. We're here talking about CONCACAF round two. And what we're going to do, we're going to kick it off, guys, with the first tie, St. Kitts and Nevis versus El Salvador. What I'm going to do, I'm going to give everyone a bit of insight on each team briefly. And then I want to hear what you guys have to say about the team. If you have anything at all to say, and, then we'll move on. So it's just fun facts and value here for both of the teams. So we have St. Kitts and Nevis. They're currently ranked 135th by FIFA, and that's 14th in CONCACAF. Average age of the squad is 26. Their coach is Leonardo Neiva, and he is Brazilian. He was appointed early 2021, and maybe that's why they have been picking up some good results. So we got to make note of that. They don't have any previous World Cup experience, and in their last 4 World Cup qualifying attempts, in 2006, they made it to the third round where they were grouped with Mexico, TNT, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In 2010, they got knocked out in the first round by Belize. 2014, in the second round by Canada, Puerto Rico, and St. Lucia. And 2018, another second round showing, losing 6-3 on aggregate to El Salvador. In terms of their Gold Cup record, they have never qualified, and CONCACAF Nations League, a recent tournament, they were in League B, but got relegated to League C after a poor showing, winning 1, drawing 2, and losing 3 against Grenada, French Guiana, and Belize. Players to watch includes, they have 6 English-based players. They're playing the lower leagues in England, but notably Romain Sawyers, a central midfielder who plays for West Bromwich Albion in the Championship. Harry Panayiotou, who plays for Aldershot Town in the lower leagues. He's a forward. He's been getting in on the goals lately. And Roy Freeman, locally based player with St. Paul's United Strikers. He has been one of the most prolific strikers as of late. So that's just some fun facts on St. Kitts and Nevis. What I'm going to do, I'm going to drop some fun facts on El Salvador, and then I want to hear your thoughts. Who you think are going to go through, Ben, and Football Pharaoh, who you think are going to go through, and you could elaborate and so on and so forth. But I was thinking about the viewers that they would want this, some type of context, something, so they could say, oh, okay. Thank you, Dominic, for dropping that in the video. So, in terms of El Salvador, they're ranked 69th by FIFA, and in CONCACAF, they're the 6th ranked team. Their nickname, they call themselves La Selecta. St. Kitts goes by the Sugar Boys, or for El Salvador, Los Cuscatlecos. That's maybe a local name. Haven't really say out that name before, so it's pretty difficult. Coach Hugo Perez, appointed in 2021, recently appointed as well. The average age of the squad is 26.9. Previous World Cup experience in 1970 and 1982, where they made it to the group stage. So it's been 39 years since. And if they do make it to the World Cup, it would be 40 years since their last World Cup qualification. Last 4 World Cup attempts. In 2006, they made it to the 3rd round, got knocked out by USA, Panama, and Jamaica. They only picked up 1 win. 2010, they did make it to the hexagonal, but placed 5th behind the USA, Mexico, Honduras, and Costa Rica. And TNT were the other team in the hex. 2014, they only made it to the 3rd round, lost out to Mexico, Costa Rica, and Guyana with only 1 win. And in 2018, they only made it to the 4th round, where Mexico, Honduras, and Canada without no wins. So they have somewhat been always outside the hex, and that has been their downfall. They just can't seem to make it into the hex, but they did so in 2010. So that is something to note. In terms of their Gold Cup record, they have made it to 17 out of 25 Gold Cup tournaments, where the best finish was a runners-up. And in the 2019 event, they made it to the groups. They only made it to the group stage. Nations League, they were in League B, Group B, with Montserrat, the Dominican Republic, and St. Lucia. And they placed first, and they are promoted to League A, which would help this team in the future. Players to watch: left midfielder Juan Carlos Portillo of Alianza FC in the El Salvador First Division. Striker Nelson Bonilla, who's playing currently for True Bangkok United in the Thai League. CDM Darwin Seren for Houston Dynamo in the MLS. Center back Eric Zavaleta, that my boy Ben keeps talking about, from Toronto FC in the MLS. And to note, Bonilla and Seren were key the last time these two teams met, where in the head-to-head, there has been 2 previous matches between El Salvador and St. Kitts and Nevis. 1 win, a 4-1 win for El Salvador in the last World Cup cycle, and a 2-2 draw between themselves and St. Kitts and Nevis. Ben, this is where you give your thoughts and you give your prediction, and then we move on to the next one.
I think this is probably going to be a close game. St. Kitts, of course, they come through the group stage. They weren't really expected to come through the group stage, with Trinidad and Tobago also in their group. But they're a decent team. They worked hard to get through that group. But I think in the end, El Salvador is going to come through. El Salvador was expected to get through the group. They did exactly that with a win on the last day. And I think they will get past St. Kitts and Nevis. And while they might have a challenge making it to the hex in past World Cup cycles, they're going to make it to the octagonal, but they're not going to make it to the World Cup.
So wait, you're picking El Salvador to go through to the octagonal?
Yeah.
All right, let's just keep it there. We don't want to make the El Salvadorian fans all sad, and we don't Ben, we don't want to go too far. You see what I'm saying? Because then you have to also keep this in mind that you don't want any bad karma coming back to Canada as well. You're a big Canadian fan. You would want to just, you understand what I'm saying?
I'm not
So,
confident in Canada against El Salvador, but I do think
so,
El Salvador I don't think they're at the level of Costa Rica, USA, Mexico, but they're certainly getting past St. Kitts, I think.
yeah, fair point, fair point, fair point. But I'm just saying, for me personally, guys, I'm only predicting the next round. I'm not. You see the second round that we're in. That's all. I'm not gonna go further. I want to save that for another video. So Ben, I want to bring you back for another video for when we talk about the octagonal. So let's not give it away, because the people are gonna be like, I don't want to hear what Ben has to say. Ben already think that we're not going through to the World Cup anyways. Well, you know what? Matter of fact, we're gonna prove Ben wrong. You see what I'm saying? Football Pharaoh, let me hear your thoughts.
The winner of this tie, funny enough, will be the first opponent for the U.S. when we start off our qualification. We play the winner between the group winner of A and F, and it would be really unexpected but interesting if we come up against the Sugar Boys in that opener. I give St. Kitts an outside chance. Maybe that loss a couple of days ago to Trinidad gave them a little bit of a snap back to reality. Maybe that can prove to be some kind of preparation, what to expect against a better team in El Salvador. But El Salvador just all around have more quality. They're the better side. I think they lucked out by playing St. Kitts instead of Trinidad. I would have favored them to come through against either of them. But yeah, El Salvador should get to the octagonal, I think. They'll make it to the octagon.
Well said, and I do agree with what you guys said. I am picking El Salvador to go through here on quality. St. Kitts and Nevis does have an outside chance, but I think it's an 80-20 affair here where El Salvador, they should get through over two legs. They have history against St. Kitts and Nevis, which it could work for them, and it could also work against them where St. Kitts could want revenge. But from the quality, I just named a few players, and these guys were around the last time around. Seren, and you have Nelson Bonilla, and you have Eric Zavaleta, who is a very, very good defender at the back there. And I found out he was actually born in the USA and of El Salvadorian background, plays for Toronto FC, and he scored a goal. He scored a goal in the game, the last match as well. So he is a goal threat as well from the set pieces, and I think El Salvador would be a bit too much for St. Kitts. St. Kitts really locked out. If there's any St. Kittitian fans watching this right now, or Nevision fans, you guys locked out. You locked out, man, and I think El Salvador would ultimately move on here. So we all agree with that one. I think it's right now it's 3-0 in favor of El Salvador, according to the panel. So we're gonna move on to the next one. I want to leave the Canada-Haiti one for last, so we're just gonna skip past that, and we're gonna talk about the Panama versus Curacao. So let me just give you a rundown on Curacao. They're currently ranked 76th by FIFA. That's 8th in CONCACAF. The average age of the squad is 27.8. They're currently managed by Gus Hiddink, who has a lot of quality and a lot of pedigree, a lot of history, taking teams to the World Cup. But they're currently managed by Patrick Kluivert in the absence of Gus Hiddink. I don't know the particular reason behind his absence, but if there's any insight, please share. Previous World Cup qualification, none for Curacao, and the last 4 World Cup qualifiers, they have only participated in 2, where they newly became started competing as Curacao in 2011, and before they were competing as the Netherlands Antilles along with Bonaire. So there was Curacao and Bonaire, where Aruba participated by themselves. In 2014, they got to the second round, where they were grouped with Antigua, Haiti, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. They came in third. And for 2018, they only made it to the third round. They lost out 2-0 to El Salvador. And for this current World Cup qualifiers, this is the furthest Curacao has ever got. So this is big. In terms of their Gold Cup record, they have made it 6 out of 25. They placed third in the 1963 and 69 event, where they did take part as Curacao and not the Netherlands Antilles. In the 2019 Gold Cup, they impressively made it to the quarters, but were knocked out by the USA. And in the Nations League, they made it to League A, and they were grouped in Group D, and they will remain in League A ahead of Haiti, which is quite impressive. Very, very impressive in its own right. Players to watch includes the Bacuna brothers, Leandro and Juninho, who both play in the championship with Cardiff City and Huddersfield Town. Cuco Martina, the captain, who's a right back and currently unattached. There's also Vernon Anita, formerly of Ajax and Newcastle United, currently plays for RKC Waalwijk in the Dutch Eredivisie. Julian Gari for the same team. He's a right back. And goalkeeper Eloy Room, who plays for Columbus Crew in the MLS. So for Los Canaleros, the Panama team, the FIFA rankings, 78. They're currently 9th in CONCACAF. Average age of the team is around 26, 27. I should have written that down. I was kind of finishing up my my research on these. Just the facts before we made this video. Coach currently is Thomas Christensen, who is he's from Denmark. Pretty good stuff, and he is definitely responsible for the good work Panama has been doing recently. Previous World Cup qualification, 2018, they made their debut, where they only made it to the group stage, so that's good. And the last 4 World Cup qualification, interestingly, in 2006, they made it to the Hex, where they placed 6th, and they were behind USA, Mexico, Costa Rica, TNT, and Guatemala. 2010 only to the second round, where they lost out to El Salvador. And 2014, they made it to the Hex, where they placed 5th behind the USA, Costa Rica, Honduras, and Mexico. And Jamaica were the other team in the Hex. 2018, they qualified ahead of the USA, Trinidad and Tobago, and Honduras, along with Mexico and Costa Rica. For the Gold Cup record, 10 out of 26 appearances. Best were runners-up in 2005 and 2013. And in 2017 and 2019, they made it to the quarters. In terms of their Nations League performance, League A, they were grouped in Group B, 1 win, 3 losses. They came in second, however, ahead of Bermuda, but behind Mexico, and they will remain in League A. Players to watch includes forward Gabby Torres, who currently plays for UNAM Pumas in the Liga MX. CDM Anibal Godoy, Nashville SC in the MLS. Armando Cooper for Maccabi Petah Tikva in Israel. Yoel Basinas for Girona in La Liga 2. And Adolfo Machado, the captain, 36-year-old, currently plays for AD San Carlos in Costa Rica. In terms of head-to-head, this will be the first meeting between the two sides. I hope I wasn't too long-winded, but it's very important to drop the facts. Ben, your thoughts?
I said it before and I'll say it again. I think Curacao is going to manage their way to the octagonal with a win over Panama. Yeah, Panama have a lot of talent on their roster, but I just don't see this Panamanian team taking out Curacao with Curacao stock rising as it is. Panama has had a great run of it in CONCACAF and even qualified for the last World Cup, but I think they're going to hit a bit of a hiccup. They're going to lose to Curacao, and Curacao is going to advance. Now, that's not the end of this Panamanian program. There's no need to rebuild the program from this point. There's still a lot of good players. It's just going to be one hiccup, and I think you have to look ahead to the Gold Cup and more international competition down the road. But I think that the 2022 World Cup, that dream will come to an end against Curacao.
Football Pharaoh. Well said, Ben.
I think this is going to be a close one. A two-legged tie between the sides. This could be CONCACAF's next big casualty to go out early. The first, as we know, was Trinidad. This could be Panama this time, not even making the final round. When they starred in the World Cup 3 years ago at the U.S.'s expense. My thoughts on this are, to reiterate what I said when we were covering Panama's group, is they cannot afford to make light work of a fixture like this, because Curacao are a side who are one of the most improved teams in the region, and they could do some real damage if they make it to the octagonal. I would, I'm to give the a little bit of parity here in our conversation on this topic. I think Panama's still going to scrape through. I wrote it down on paper before we went this video. I have this coming down to away goals rule. I have this being 2-2. I think Curacao will actually beat Panama at home, and Panama will win. They'll get an away goal in Willemstad. They are playing at their home grounds, right? The whole COVID situation. I believe they're playing in Panama City and Willemstad. But yeah, it's going to go down to the wire, and I completely agree that Curacao are more than capable of coming through. I think that the experience at this level and these grinding out these really rugged CONCACAF type games might suit Panama here, because Panama's going to be a more arduous test than Guatemala was for Curacao. So I've got Panama going through, and that's my very specific prediction on away goals rule.
All right. Well said, guys. So just to answer your question on the home teams, Canada, it seems, would be the only team not playing at home because of their current COVID situation, their restrictions. So they will continue to play in Detroit, right, Ben?
In Bridgeview in Illinois.
Yeah, Illinois, not Detroit. Sorry there.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, not Detroit, but in Illinois. So my thoughts: Panama versus Curacao. I like this Curacao team. I really do. But from my analysis of what Panama did through their qualifiers, and there were a few close games, but if you look back at who were playing, it seems like whoever was in charge was actually messing around with the roster and with who was getting called up. You know, the politics with this player not getting called up, that player not getting called up. But I think since the appointment of Thomas Christensen, they said, whoa, we're not going to do this. We made it in 2018, and we're not going to get knocked out this early. And I like what I see with this Panamanian team, with calling up some of these more experienced guys. Now you're seeing the core of the team that made it to the 2018 World Cup. It's fine to refresh, but with national teams, you can't refresh too much. It's not like a club where the turnover might be large over 2 years or so. For the national team, you need some continuity. You need that backbone, and you have to have those experienced guys in the team. When I look at a national team roster for the caps, I want to see players with a lot of caps. That's very intimidating, because it means those bunch of players play with each other quite a lot. They know each other very well, and they could go out there blindfolded and get results. For Curacao, I think they have a bit of a problem up top. The goalkeeper, pretty good. You have very, very solid midfielders. You have guys like Cuca Martina, who's been around for a while. They have solid management, solid coaching. But this Panamanian team is going to be difficult to beat. And Ben, I think you might be the odd one out here. We thought that maybe Football Fair thought that I was going to go for Curacao, but I'm going to go for Panama to scrape through here. And the games will be close, but I think Panama would win the game in Panama City, and maybe in Willemstad, it may end in a draw. And Panama scrape through maybe on a 1-goal margin, maybe a 1-0 win and a 0-0 draw, because Curacao not very convincing against Guatemala. They expected them to win that game and they didn't. So I'm going to pick Panama. Sorry to the Curacao fans watching this. Prove me wrong. That's all I got to say. If you prove me wrong, then you prove me wrong. But I think Panama's coming through here. Any final thoughts, Ben?
I think it's going to be a tight game, and I like Football Pharaoh's suggestion that it might come down to away goals as well. It's going to be very tight. I do see Curacao advancing, so hopefully those Curacao fans who might be a little frustrated with you two give me a little pat on the back for choosing their team.
Yeah.
They
Maybe.
certainly could come through.
Yeah, they could. This could even come down to penalties. Who knows? You see what I'm saying? So we're gonna move on to the final one and wrap this up. But this is a big preview that we've done here. I don't think anyone else in the world, and I mean this, I don't care if anyone else did it. I don't mean to sound cocky or anything, but I'm just confident. This will be the best preview of the CONCACAF second round of qualifiers in the world. Thank you to Ben. Thank you to Football Pharaoh. We're gonna finish off with Haiti versus Canada. And let me just give a quick rundown of both teams, and then you guys will give your thoughts, and then we'll say bye bye, au revoir. Okay, but for Haiti, they're known as Les Grenadiers or Grenadiers, if I'm saying that right. If I'm not, pardon me. But they're currently ranked 83rd by FIFA, 10th in CONCACAF. The average age of the team is 23.7. The current coach is Jean-Jacques Pierre, and he's a 40-year-old Haitian, previously based in France. For previous World Cup experience, they made it to the 1974 World Cup. They bowed out at the group stage. And a famous player that came out of that World Cup is Emmanuel Sanon, who scored against Italy. And I think he scored another goal. I can't remember, but they were very impressive at the World Cup. And they got to that World Cup because they were the regional champions, and that's how the World Cup qualifiers work back then. If you're regional champions, then you qualify for the World Cup. So that was pretty fun. So in terms of their last four World Cup qualifiers campaign, in 2006 they made it to the second round where they lost out to Jamaica. In 2010 they made it to the third round, which is just outside the hex, lost out to Costa Rica, El Salvador, and Suriname. In 2014, the second round, they lost out to Antigua, who topped the group, surprisingly, Curacao, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. And in 2018, fourth round, just outside the hex again, where they lost out to Costa Rica, Panama, and Jamaica, with Costa Rica and Panama moving on to the next round, of course. In terms of their Gold Cup record, they've made it to 14 out of 25 events and winning it in 1973, qualifying for the 1974 World Cup. And impressively in 2019, they made it to the semis by beating Canada. That was a remarkable come-from-behind victory, we could all remember. For the CONCACAF Nations League, they were in League A in Group D with Costa Rica and Curacao, but they placed third in the group with 3 draws and 1 loss. Not bad at all. And they were relegated to League B. Players to watch includes goalkeeper Johnny Placide, who has over 50 caps for the national team. He currently plays for Tisasko Selo Sofia in the Bulgarian First Division. Center back Kevin Lafrance, who is the captain, currently plays for AEK Larnaca in the Cypriot First Division. Dawkins Nazan, striker, who currently plays for Sint-Truiden in the Belgian First Division. Francis Perrat, another striker playing for Guingamp in French Ligue 1. Left winger Herve Bazil, playing for Le Havre in the French Ligue 1. And left winger Derek Etienne Jr., currently with Columbus Crew in the MLS. He's a live wire. So for Canada, Ben might give some more insight on the Canadian team, but this is what I actually got for Canada. Average age 25.7, pretty young team, one of the youngest teams left in the second round. Coach John Herdman, been managing since 2018. Previous World Cup, I forgot to mention that they're currently ranked 70th by FIFA. And the ranking 70th by FIFA would put them around maybe 9th in CONCACAF. Not bad at all. 8th or 9th, if I'm not mistaken. Previous World Cup experience in 1986, where they were previously regional champions and made it to the event. They lost all 3 games. And in terms of their last full World Cup qualifying campaign in 2006, they made it to the third round, where they lost out to Costa Rica, Guatemala, and Honduras. Damn, they couldn't handle the Central American heat there at all. 2010, third round as well, where they also beat St. Vincent and the Grenadines 7-1 on aggregate in the second round. Gotta mention that because that's where I'm from. They also lost out to Honduras, Mexico, and Jamaica, and they placed fourth in the third round. 2014, another third round finish, and they lost out to Honduras, Panama, and Cuba. 2018, another fourth round finish, just outside the hex, always just outside the hex for Canada, where they missed out to Mexico, Honduras, and El Salvador. Honduras being the bogey team here for Canada. They are the constant every time you mention Canada. And the fact that they finish outside the hex every single time, the last 4 tries, and they're now outside the hex. Canada, this is it. This is it. I don't mean to cut it short, but this is it. But in terms of their Gold Cup record, 18 out of 26 appearances. They won it in 1985 and the year 2000. And the last 2 events in 2017 and 2019, they made it to the quarters where they were knocked out by Haiti, as I mentioned. In terms of the CONCACAF Nations League, they started in League A, Group A, where they did beat the USA, but end up losing to them and missed out on qualifying for the final. They would remain in League A as well. Players to watch include striker Jonathan David, who is of Haitian descent, but was born in the United States of America. He's from Brooklyn. He plays for Lille, where Lille won Ligue 1, pipped PSG to the title, and he will be playing in the Champions League next season if he does not get sold by Lille, like they are selling everybody right now. There's also left back / left midfielder Alphonso Davies, currently with Bayern Munich, Champions League winner, Bundesliga winner as well. Lucas Cavallini, striker who plays for Vancouver Whitecaps in the MLS. Kyle Larin, a left winger who plays for Besiktas in the Super League, and Besiktas will be the Champions League next season because they won the Turkish Super League. There's also goalkeeper Milan Bojan, who plays for Red Star in the Serbian League, champs with them as well. And there's CDM Samuel Piette, who plays for Montreal in the MLS. He is a constant when you really look at the Canadian team, over 50 caps, and he featured in the last game. In terms of head-to-head, there has been 4 matches between these two teams where Canada defeated Mexico in the Gold Cup playoff in the 1999, 2-1. Gold Cup 2002 in the group stages, Canada beat Haiti 2-0. There was also Gold Cup 2007 group stage where Canada beat Haiti 2-0. But the memorable Gold Cup 2019 quarterfinals match between Haiti and Canada that ended 3-2 in favor of Haiti. Canada were on course to beat them 2-0, but Haiti came back from behind to clinch that win. So that's that. Ben, wait. Yeah. You know what, Ben? I'm gonna give you the honors, and I'm gonna let you speak about this last. That I could give that to you. I'm gonna say what I have to say first here, and then I'm gonna let Football Pharaoh speak, and then I'm gonna let Ben speak because, you know, I've already said my piece. I've given you the facts and everything. Could Haiti do it again? Canada has more quality. Haiti also has a lot of quality in their team. A lot of quality. You heard the names of the players I mentioned, but Canada has the big names. Canada, they are the favorites. They pipped Haiti before, but barring that 2019 Gold Cup calamitous collapse, Canada always would win ahead of Haiti. But for Canada, they have been building something really, really good here. Jonathan David, still very young. He got his first cap under John Herdman. I remember when Alphonso Davies debuted for Canada at the 20. I can't remember if he debuted at the 2017 Gold Cup, but that was before John Herdman. And he's still around, and there's so much quality in this team. I think for Haiti, there's always like some big guys missing out the team, you know, that you expect to be there. Like, I don't even see Steven Saba in the squad. There's a few guys I don't see in the squad. I don't know why they're not in the squad. Like guys like Guerrier, I don't see in the squad. I don't know if they will feature on Saturday, but the previous squads, I didn't see them in the squad. And you guys might be able to give more insight. Football Fair, you might be able to give more insight here. But I see Canada as the more quality team coming in here. We saw what they did against a good Curacao team, and Haiti against Nicaragua. We gotta go on what we have here, the recent form. They barely won 1-0. Haiti got the quality in Dawkins, Nazan, and Francie Perrault. These guys, I've seen them play. I've watched games. They're very determined. They're very, very dangerous. Canada are the favorites. Haiti are the underdogs. It's Canada's game to lose. It's Canada's game to lose. It's their tie to lose. Across two legs, Canada are the favorites. I'm going for Canada. I don't see Haiti going to. I know there'll be some Haitian fans don't agree with me, but from my analysis, I'm going to go for Canada here. It would be a big disappointment if Canada misses out on the last stage again, this time the octagonal. Football Pharaoh.
Haiti might just be one of those sides in CONCACAF that plays to the level of their opponents. We saw them give Costa Rica a run for their money in the Nations League. We saw them beat Costa Rica in the last Gold Cup, and then, like you said, come from behind in the quarterfinals of that tournament to beat Canada. And then they go and they make hard work of games like against Nicaragua in the first round. Looking overall, the quality of the two squads, I think you're right, though don't quote me on that. I think Ben could chime in with that. I think Davies' debut for Canada was against French Guiana at the Gold Cup, or if not, that was his first international goal. I could be wrong.
You're right on that one.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. Yeah, for Canada, it's the time is now. We talk about Suriname, going out to Suriname being would have been a disaster. It would be maybe not a disaster, but a very big disappointment if Canada were not to make it into the octagonal to play among the best teams in the region. And I think, as far as a prediction, I think they're going to make a big statement. I actually have Canada winning both legs. I think they're going to win both games and win this tie on aggregate at least by a 2-goal margin, I'll say. I don't think it's going to be that close.
Well said. So, Ben, you wrap up and then we call it a day.
Yeah, well, Canada, yes, we've spoken about the loss to Haiti at the Gold Cup. We've spoken about a ton. That's at the forefront of Canadian minds heading into this tie with Haiti. But you look at that game, Canada dominated until they allowed Haiti to come back. It was 2-0 quite easily for Canada. And Canada was playing a lot of players in that game that are nowhere near the national team picture anymore. Yes, Jonathan David was in that game. Yes, Alphonso Davies was in that game. And Milan Borjan is a consistent player in net, and he wasn't fantastic in that game either. But Canada has a lot more quality from the top to the bottom now. We saw a debut from Scott Kennedy in the game against Suriname. And Scott Kennedy, he's playing in the second Bundesliga, but he was absolutely fantastic for Canada. And I think Canada, coming in with all of their quality, is going to beat Haiti and win both legs. The only challenge, however, is playing without a home game. Because, of course, we have the home and away goal rule here, but Canada's home field is in Illinois, and that's not Canada. And so even though there's a bit of an advantage playing in a MLS or former MLS stadium, current NWSL stadium, it's still not home, and there's no home fans either. Of course, Haiti, they'll be playing without fans, but I do think that Canada's going to come out on top in both legs and make their way to the octagonal. I just think the quality is too good for Canada.
Well said. My final thoughts. Unless the Haitian team goes to see the voodoo priests. Oh, which voodoo is not a bad thing, by the way. Let me just mention that out there. I don't want people to be thinking. But unless they go to the voodoo priests, I don't see them beating Canada here. So my pick again, I'm picking Panama, Canada, and El Salvador to go through to the final 8, where we have Ben. Let us know your picks again.
My picks are El Salvador, Canada, and Curacao.
And Football Pharaoh, your picks.
I have El Salvador, Panama, and Canada.
So I think the only difference between our picks is Ben picking Curacao to go through, right?
Yeah, I think that's the only difference. And as we said, that game is a bit of a coin toss, anyways.
Definitely. Guys, it was a pleasure. This was epic. We will do this again if you guys are up for it. And I've had a long and exhausting day, so I'm going to call it a night. For everyone who've watched the video, appreciate you. You're the real MVP. If you're new, make sure you subscribe to the channel, okay? Don't like the video. Make sure you like the video. Ben, what do you have to say before we go? And then Football Pharaoh, you say your piece, and then we call it a day.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in. If you want to see any of my soccer content, you can follow at BenSteiner00 on Twitter. You can see it right here on the screen. And we'll be covering everything Canadian soccer over on wakingthered.com.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me on again, Dom. It was nice to speak with you and Ben. Anyone can reach me on my YouTube channel at Football Pharaoh, or you can follow me on Twitter, Football Pharaoh at soccer_Pharaoh. And I look forward to see how more of these games throughout the summer unfold. It's a lot of content to cover, but I'm all here for it.
Definitely. So we got to link up sometime next week. My schedule, the game's are on Tuesday, I think, and you know what? If we can, we might have to link up Tuesday night because Wednesday, Thursday, the rest of the week, I'm not available because, my wife goes to work. I'm with my 2-year-old. So it would be nice if we could briefly meet up for maybe 30 minutes on Tuesday. Let's see how that one works. We're not going to promise anything, but we'll be back. So, guys, from your boy Dominic Rich, Ben, and the Football Pharaoh, I'd like to say thanks for watching. Until next time, peace out. Rich, score hut. Peace.